Okay, class. So function notation. Today we'll try to understand how do we write functions. उसके लिए थोड़ा सा पहले basic introduction of functions. A function is just a mathematical relationship in which every input has a defined output. So yeah, so what is a function? We have just done a very basic understanding or definition of function. A function is a mathematical relationship in which every input has a defined output. We have already done a few functions when I write y is equals to 3x minus 5. Now we know this will appear to be a straight line. इसी को अगर मैं इस तरह से मॉडल कर लूं, if I think of it this way, that x is my input and y is my output. So now I can say that technically fx is equals to 3x minus 5. We need to understand these two notations. I'll just compare the two notations. दोनों में एक ही बात है, कोई फर्क नहीं है. The only difference is एक में y लिखा हुआ and the other one you have written it as fx. So for example, if I were to input the value of x as 7 in this, so what will I say? Y is equals to 3 times 7 minus 5. What will be the answer?
16.
16. So that means for an input of 7, the output is 16. Now the same thing, if I were to input a 7 in this, what will I write? Fx is 3x minus 5. And f of 7 is 3 into 7 minus 5. So what is the output then? Obviously, it will remain as 16. Now understand the difference. In this one, you do not know what your input was. You'll have to scroll back up, look at your previous calculations, and then understand, sir, when we input 7, then we got the output as 16. But in this one, you all can already see that for an input of 7, the output is 16. इस बात को clear रखो कि x is your input and the entire fx is your output. Is this clear, bete?
G.
So this is the very basic introduction of function notation. That is how we intend to write functions. Okay. Let's go through a question and try to make it more clear. Okay, let's have a look at this question. The question is provided us with a function fx 4x minus 7. Find f half. This is paper 1. I do not expect the 4024 students to use a calculator in this one. Now what is the question asking? वो पूछ रहा है भाई कि अगर half input करें, so what is the output with an input of half? So जहाँ जहाँ x है, वहाँ you plug in the value of half, and without using the calculator, 4 into half is 2 minus 7. So for an input of half, the output is negative 5. Is this clear, bete?
G.
Good. What about the rest?
Clear. Yes, clear.
Okay, now the question wants us to find the value of p. And what is so special about p? The question says that when you input a p, the output is also p. Remember, when a question writes something like this, you need to understand what is it telling you. Input agar p hai, I told you this entire thing is called the output. F of p will be called the output. F of half will be called the output. हाँ, इसके अंदर half है. Remember, this is not just a bracket का आपने इसको multiply कर लिया. You are trying to say कि for an input of half, the output is minus 5. So the question is telling you when you input p, the output is also p. So let's try to see this. For an input of p, 4 into p minus 7, the output is also equal to p. Do you understand this, bacho? When we input P, this entire thing was our output. The question said ये पूरा भी P है. Fine. So 4P minus P is 7. 3P is 7 and P is 7 over 3. And that is 2 whole number 1 upon 3. If anyone has not understood a single step till this point, please let me know. Is this clear?
G.
Good. What about the rest?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. Now, can you attempt this question on your own? Now, in the first part, the question just wanted us to plug in the input as 4. We plugged in 4 and we got the answer as -8. In the second part, the question is asking कि input बताओ the value of x. So let x be an unknown x. And output उसने बता दिया is 17. So I can say that 17, which is the output, is equals to 12 minus 5x. 5 minus 5x इधर आके प्लस हो गया. 17 उधर जाके माइनस हो गया. 5x is negative 5x is negative 1. Is this clear, बच्चों?
Yes.
Clear है बेटे?
G.
Okay, so there are two ways of writing down function notation. दोनों एक ही बात होती है, परेशान नहीं होना. I can either write it down this way or f colon x और एरो भी लगा के इसको लिखा जा सकता है. क्लियर है बच्चों?
G.
Anything that anyone has not understood till this point? ये वाला है लगता है. So you either write it this way or write it this way. दोनों एक ही मतलब है. Both of them mean the same thing. Function notation में for the input we use x. ठीक है? और आउटपुट के लिए हम fx की नोटेशन यूज करते हैं. Now let's try to understand one thing. Let's see a question. फिर उसके बाद मैं बताता हूँ कि how do we find the inverse of a function. Okay, now this is a question. Part A is very easy. I expect you to attempt it on your own and tell me what do you get.
-2.
-2. Okay, let's see. F of k is 3k plus 4. The question says ये पूरा भी k के बराबर हो जाएगा. 3k minus k is -4. 2k is -4. K is -2. Is everyone getting the same answer? Yes, bete.
G, sir.
Okay. Now let's try to understand the concept of inverse before actually finding out the inverse. When I input anything in this function, what sequence of operations do I go through? Let's write it down for a minute. कि पहले जब मैं input करता हूँ, my input first multiplies by 3 and then Is that right or wrong?
Yes, it's right.
Yes. So what do? You take your input, first you multiply it by 3, and then you add 4 to get your output. If I want you to make an inverse function, पहले तो देखो लिखते कैसे हैं inverse function को. This is called an inverse function. अगर f है तो f ऊपर पावर में -1 and x. Now you want a function जो बिल्कुल इसका उल्टा काम करे. पहले तो देख के just by writing it down, can you tell me what will that be? You now need to reverse the operations as well and the sequence as well. Sequence भी उल्टी करनी है और operations भी reverse करने हैं. तो पहला काम क्या होना चाहिए अब? What is the reverse of 4 is added?
4 is subtracted.
Yeah, very good. Subtract 4 and then
Divide by 3.
very good. Divide by 3. So if you want to make an inverse function for this one, you will say now अगर आप input करें तो उसमें से पहले 4 subtract करते हैं and then we'll divide by 3. पहले is this clear or not? I'll go through the entire process of making an inverse as well. पहले understand this is a very generic, very easy way to make an inverse by understanding the concept of function and operations. Is this clear, class?
जी sir.
Okay. Now, how do we make an inverse? पहले तो पूरी चीज को y की equal लिख देते हैं because that makes the algebra very easy for us. I'm telling you how or the entire method of getting this thing. तो पहले तो original function 3x plus 4 को y लिख दिया. What is our input right now? This x is our input and this y is our
Output.
we want to interchange them. I want to make this the input and this the output. That is what is called inverse function. So the first thing that I'll do, I'll make x the subject of the formula. I've already told you do not force x to come to the left to make the subject of the formula. जहां आसानी से है वहीं बना लो. Sorry. Now your x is the subject of the formula. So now you can call this entire thing your inverse function. और function के input के लिए the variable that we use is x. तो y की जगह in place of y we will just write x. And that is how we get an inverse function. पूरे को y के equal लिखा. We made x the subject of the formula and we got our inverse function. फिर y की जगह we used x because now we want that to be our input for the inverse function. ये method भी clear है and you can also do this directly. Do not worry. If you understand the concept of function only then will you be able to do this. But this is not possible for all questions. Please understand this. हर question में देख के करना इतना आसान नहीं होगा. Is this clear बेटे?
जी.
What about the rest?
Yes, clear.
Okay, let's take these two examples. Can you attempt the first one on your own and tell me what do you get? F of 2.5. You can either write it 2.5 or 2.5, whichever one suits you, or 5/2. उसकी कोई लड़ाई नहीं है हमारे पास. 2.5. अब जहां जहां x है वहां पे we'll plug in the value. इसको इस तरह मैं लिख लेता हूँ. तो पहले मैं पूछता हूँ कि f of x को इस तरह भी लिखा जा सकता है. I'll write it as 5/2. मिक्स नंबर्स में हम कैलकुलेशन नहीं कर पाते हैं. Divided by 5/2. So 2 and 2 cancelled out. 5 plus 5 multiply by 2/5. 10. into 2 upon 5. So the answer is 4. Is that right?
Yes.
जी सर यही आया।
Very good, very good. Now the question wants us to make an inverse. We cannot just make an inverse. इसमें उस तरह सोच के नहीं कर पाएंगे क्योंकि input यहाँ पे भी है. The input is also in the denominator. Now the method becomes very useful for us. Write y. Now make x the subject of the formula. All x containing terms on one side. Then take x common. So now f inverse of x is Is this clear?
Yes.
Is anyone else not getting this answer or is unable to understand it? Please let me know. Yes, बच्चों.
नहीं sir, it's clear.
Okay, can you attempt these 4 parts on your own? Okay, so the first one said f of -4. So 3 -4 minus 5. 3 times -4 is -12 minus 5. So f of -4 is -17. Please understand this as well. Okay, when I'm input in original function, if I have an input of -4, the output is 17, -17. So f of t is 10, right? F of t, that means x की जगह t लिख दो. And the question said कि ये पूरा 10 के बराबर है. So 3t is 15 and t is 5. The third one asked for an inverse. हम direct भी बना सकते हैं. What are the operations? अभी original में बताओ मुझे क्या operations हो रहे हैं. When I input, मैं input करता हूँ तो मेरे क्या क्या operations होते हैं. First my input multiplies by 3
Multiplies by 3.
और फिर उसके बाद
5 से subtract होता है.
-5 उल्टा चलो तो क्या होगा. Now inverse में input पहले.
5 से add होगा
Very good. And then
and 3 से divide होगा.
वेरी गुड. एक तो ये तरीका था. और एल्स यू कुड हैव सेड सर y, मैं तो ऐसे ही बनाऊंगा. इट्स सेम थिंग, कोई बात नहीं. y plus 5 is equals to 3x. So y plus 5 upon 3 is x. So you could say that f inverse of x is y x plus 5 over 3. Is this clear, class? ये पहले 3 parts I hope is clear to everyone.
जी.
Now the last one, the question is asking me to plug in inverse में. वो कह रहा है अगर मैं 4 plug in कर दूं, कोई बात नहीं. Inverse में I'll just plug in 4 and जहाँ x है वहाँ 4 आ जाएगा. Inverse में 4 plus 5 upon 3. Is this clear, class? 9 upon 3, which is 3.
Yes, clear.
Anyone who is unable to understand this? Clear है बच्चों?
जी.
जी.
Okay. Now let's do a few paper 2 related questions. You can use the calculators for this one. Yes, class. So now 2 functions have been provided. One of them is called fx. The other one is called gx. Part A is expecting us to find f of -2. So wherever we have x, we write -2 on this. -6, -5. People don't do this directly in the calculator as well because Calculators are allowed for this part. Largest integer satisfying the inequality. The question is made an inequality fx is greater than 3 times gx. So fx की जगह I can just write the function fx. Gx की जगह I can just write the function gx. So 3x minus 5 is 3 and 3 cancelled out because it's a single fraction. All x containing terms on one side, I can say that इसको उधर ले जाता हूँ -5 -4 4x -3x. So -9. How do we read this? I've told you people read from the variables perspective. So what will you say? X is less than -9. Now, can you tell me the possible values of x if x is less than -9? What values can x take? What integer values can x take?
Minus
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 10, -11, -12, -13. All these integer values are possible for x. Now, out of all these integers values, what is the largest integer value that x can take?
-10.
-10. I'll say largest integer value of x is -10. Moving on to the next part. C. Now the question is saying fx is equals to g of 3x minus 5. जो भी चीज यहाँ x की जगह आती है, original the question defines a function, then whatever is in place of this input, जहाँ जहाँ x है, you plug in that input. If the question would have said g of sabi, so I would have said 4 times sabi plus 4 upon 3. जो भी चीज यहाँ पर आएगी, that means आपको input कर देनी है, जहाँ जहाँ x है वहाँ पे वो value plug in कर देनी है. So the question is saying fx, which is 3x minus 5, is equals to g of 3x minus 5. 4. पहले मैं लिख देता हूँ, चलो, let me write it down separately for you. What is gx? Gx is 4x plus 4 upon 3. So what will be g of 3x minus 5? G of 3x minus 5. Wherever I have x, I'll just plug in 3x minus 5. And this is g of 3x minus 5. And that should be equal to fx. fx है 3x minus 5 already. So ये हो गया 12x minus 20 plus 4. Now can you solve this and tell me the value of x that you get?
Yeah, I got 3.
Let's see. कोई बात नहीं, अभी देख लेते हैं. Because you're getting different values. -16 again. This is 9x minus 15 is 12x minus 16. So 16 को इधर ले आता हूँ. 16 plus हो गया -15 minus 9x. 1 is equals to 3x. This is the value of x. Is this clear, बच्चों?
जी sir.
Let's do another question then. Paper 2 again. Use the calculators for this one. पहला part बहुत आसान है. I expect you people to attempt it on your own. And if you are unable to do so, then let me know. Yes, बच्चों. What is g of -1?
3.
3.
Yes.
Okay, what about fx is equals to 2? 2x plus 3 is fx. इसको equal to 2 रख देते हैं. 2x is minus 1, x is negative half. Now what about g inverse of x? That is y is equals to 12 minus 3x upon 5. 5y is 12 minus 3x. Dx is 12 minus 5y. X is 12 minus 5y upon 3, and that is our inverse. G inverse of x is 12 minus 5x upon 3. लास्ट पार्ट एक जल्दी से इसका देखते हैं, फिर भी join the other link. Find the value of x when fx is 4 more than gx. What does that mean?